Dene Realty and talking about something that appeared in the paper on a, as it says in the journal, a proposed prison on Hackett Hill in Manchester. So he's going to give some information on it. Mr. Dene,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Richard Dene from Dene Realty Group, Manchester, New Hampshire. To my right is a gentleman by the name of Michael Murphy from HTC Corporation, Salt Lake City, Utah. And to my left is a gentleman, Michael Castagna from Castagna Consulting Group. He is my construction consultant. What we're going to do for the first slide is show you a piece of land on Hackett Hill that's approximately 1,100 acres. To give you a little history, in the early 70s, UNH, University of New Hampshire, was bequeathed this piece of land, and they wanted to create an urban campus. So they built a 30,000 square foot, two-story building called French Hall right on Hackett Hill that everybody has probably seen. And they thought that this was going to be their new campus. They proceeded to put in an entire infrastructure system, sewer, water, streets, paving, sidewalks, curbs, parking lots, street lights. They did the whole works with the anticipation of having a urban campus. The concept did not work. So after about 10 years of this, they decided, well, they negotiated with the city of Manchester to exchange the entire parcel for a 40,000 square foot mill building that they are currently in on Commercial Street in Manchester. The city of Manchester inherited this 1,100 acres, and what their intent would be to create an R&D park. So they created the Manchester Housing and Redevelopment Council, created a board of directors, executive director, and proceeded to spend, again, a substantial amount of money trying to market this piece. That was 15 years ago. The project did not go because there was obviously no market for an R&D park.